Proclamation has a different power source of energy. It comes from what God has said to you. There are so many things that God has spoken to us. And now it's like we're waiting for another confirmation. I mean, what are you waiting for? Well, I don't know if it's the Lord's will right now. Well, just start moving and see what happens. Some of us are waiting. We've got this whole confirmation thing down to a fine art. Lord, show me your will. I will know it's your will when a pygmy in an admiral's uniform knocks on my front door and tries to sell me a bottle of milk. And when that happens, I know that it will be your will and I'll do it. What is that? You do realize you are an endless source of amusement in heaven. You know, my favorite excuse in the Bible is, it's the one where Moses has been up on the mountain for over 5 weeks and everyone thinks he's dead. Yeah, because all they see is lightning and stuff and they think he's he's got fried. So they start having this party and stuff, and all these people give Aaron all this gold and he makes this golden calf. And then it's like, you hear this sound, Moses is back and Aaron's having a fit. Oh no. And so, Moses comes striding into the camp. What are you guys celebrating? And here's Aaron in front of the calf like this. Well, hi Moses, good to see you. Do you want to come over this way and have a coffee? And go, what's that behind you? Oh, well, nothing. No, what is it? Get out of the way. What is that? Well, I don't know. All these guys gave me this gold and I threw it in the fire and this came out. I love that excuse. It didn't work, but it's a brilliant excuse. I don't know, it's a miracle, really. I threw it in the fire and this came out. Astonishing. I'm amazed. Are you amazed, Mo? No, you're not amazed, eh? You're annoyed. Okay. Take those tablets, you'll feel better. When you've got prophecy in your life, you've got permission. Permission's been granted. Permission was granted for some of us quite a while ago to move into something, and we're still waiting, like for the 14th confirmation. Lord, just waiting, Sometimes you get a prophetic word and the exact opposite happens. What's the first thing you think apart from false prophet? You think, well, the first thing we do is we use our circumstances to challenge the prophecy, instead of using our prophecy to challenge the circumstances. The issue here is, what's going on in your life and what is the timing of God? Sometimes God knew that was going to go wrong, and so he gave you a prophetic word beforehand so that you could go through that holding on to the prophecy. And what we do is we get the prophecy first, something, the opposite happens, and we use the circumstances to say that the prophecy is not real. Who's done that? Bad Christians. See, God is always previous. He knew that was coming, and he was kind enough to give you a word to hold on to while you were going through it. And we use the circumstances to challenge the prophecy or the promise. Your circumstances are not the problem. Your perception of your circumstances is the problem. That we don't see them the way that God sees them. And when God gives you a prophetic word, it's so that you can have vision when you're going through something that's not nice, that's unpleasant, that's difficult. It's so that you can have a different perspective. At least you know you're going to get to survive what you're in. But let me tell you again, beloved, prophecy is not about survival. It's about learning to prosper because you have the word of the Lord. And so often what happens is we get prophecy in our lives and we pray about it. We wonder why nothing happens. You see, prophecy is permission granted. You don't pray when God's already said you can have it. Yeah? It's like if you're in a if you've lost everything that you ever had, you've lost your home, your land, your inheritance, your freedom, and now you're living as a bondservant to another. Think of that for a minute in Israel, in the Old Testament. You've lost your inheritance, your land, your house. You're now a bondslave of somebody else. And you hear one day that the king has sent out this edict about a year of Jubilee. And you're in town and you hear the herald of the king speaking, ringing a bell. Everyone comes to the bell. And there's this guy saying, the king is saying this. This is now a year of Jubilee where everything will be restored. What are you going to do? Most believers would go back to the person who owns them and say, I just thought I'd bring it to your attention that, there is a Jubilee thing, and I'm just wondering if, what's the chances of me being set free? That's how we act with prophecy. Or we go back to the place where somebody else owns our land and our property. And we go back to them and say, I don't know if you noticed, but there is this word being going around the country right now from the king about Jubilee and everything being restored. And, and I was just like, wondering. I was just, wanting to ask if you'd mind if I, move back into my, my own house kind of thing. When you've lost everything, and you're a servant of somebody else, and you hear the herald of the king say, this is the year of Jubilee, everything must be returned and restored. You go straight back to your master's house and you say, dude, have you heard the herald of the king? I'll be leaving now. You proclaim to him, I've heard the message of the king, and therefore what he says is true, and therefore I am free. You don't ask to be set free on that person. You proclaim to them, I have been set free by the king. I'm no longer bound in service to you. You don't ask him. You proclaim to him. And you go back to your hometown, you go back to your land, and you see that landowner and you say, this is a year of Jubilee. All of this is now mine. I am taking possession. That's what prophecy does for you. It puts you in that place of possession, of inheritance. It puts you in a place where you can proclaim the word of the Lord to your own circumstances, and they have to fall to you. Prophecy is kind of useful, huh? Yeah?